Hello everyone, LJ here. As you can see in front of me, I've got this second-hand Skorge. His shoulders are broken. It's how he arrived to me. And this video is going to be about how to fix broken Skorge and Cantus shoulders. And I hope this video is very helpful. I hope you guys can understand what I'm showing. But as you can see, right in this socket is the broken ball of the peg. From where it must have snapped, must have been a tight joint. And as you can see, the rest on this arm. That's the broken peg. This one is not exactly broken. It just popped out. But as you can kind of see around the base of it, like a thin white line. I think I'll show it in detail more just there, like a thin white stress mark. If your shoulders or any joints are tight, do not just start posing. Try and heat up first. So this is where I'm going to show some tools of what you're going to need before fixing these shoulders. I am doing a voiceover, so I'm sorry if nothing really matches up perfectly. But you really couldn't hear any of the audio I was doing throughout this video. So let's just try and see if I can give you as much help as possible on how to do this. But this should be a very effective way on how to fix Cantus and Skorge shoulders. So what you're going to need is a respirator, some nice kind of eye protection. If you wear glasses, make sure you get one that goes over. You're also going to need a flathead screwdriver, some snips, and some needle nose pliers. Reasons for being, you'll see in the video, and also a rotary tool. This is probably the most important thing you're going to need. So yeah, this is now going to be step one coming up, which is basically snipping away the rest of the broken peg to get you that surface you're going to need for when you start drilling. So yeah, I'm going to show you now. You're going to just start snipping away until it's pretty much as flat as possible. You don't want any raised edging, trust me. So that's now as flat as possible. Then you want to do is the peg that you're going to be using, you want to make sure that it aligns with where that peg should go. Now, as you can see, the bottom of that peg is bigger than the actual peg inside the arm. That's fine, because that is what's going to keep the peg in place at the bottom. So you need to drill a slightly bigger hole just to get that base of the peg in. And then that will kind of keep it a bit more secure because it'll be tighter, therefore less chances of it wiggling free when you put the glue in later on. But also, what you also want to do, that's also very important, is to get these pegs, just get a cheap Gears of War 3 figure or Gears of War 1 figure, and just measure the pegs. I'm going to show you in a minute. So with the needle nose pliers, this is just to show you that removing pegs from heads and stuff, when you heat up in hot water, you can put the needle nose pliers under the head and just pop the peg out very simply without causing too much damage to the peg. Try and use anything else, it could break, it could snap. So this is going to be step 2, which is heating up the figure. And this is going to be using boiling hot water. Now, I normally recommend using gloves, and I still do. I just didn't have any gloves to recommend using in my own video. So don't be like me, don't be an idiot. Make sure you got some decent hand protection, or at least just be very careful. You also want a nice like tea towel or kitchen towel down for the water to go on. You don't want your actual surface to get wet because you need it. So as you can see, this part of the video, is going to be 1, putting the other arm back in, but 2, removing that broken ball socket and testing the peg to make sure it fits in that socket. So you're going to let it soak for a couple of seconds. It doesn't have to sit in there too long. Just a couple of seconds will do. And then you should have the right kind of temperature for this to work. So it should be taken out any moment. There we go. You drain the figure, make sure there's no water, and then just put it on top of the towel. I, like an idiot, spilt a little bit on my surface, but it's okay, as long as you're safe, as long as it's not in the main work area. Then the flathead screwdriver. This is why the flathead comes in handy. You should see the broken peg just fling out of this. There you go. Flung out, leaving that nice gap. And this is what you want to do. Whichever peg you're going to use, you want to test it to make sure it fits into that socket. And pop. There we go. It's in the socket. it moves up and down. You can rotate it, but then see, I can't get it back out. And this is why needle nose pliers are your best friend when it comes to peg removals. Pop, there we go. Out without damaging the peg. It's beautiful. So now we know exactly which peg we're going to use. We know it's the right size, we know it's great, we know it can move. But now while he's heated up, let's pop the other arm back on. So like I said, in order to prevent peg breaking, in order to prevent stress marking on pegs so that they snap in future, if your joints are tight when they come out of the box or when you get the figure, heat them up in some hot water or with a hairdryer or a heat gun. Don't just start bending because they'll snap. Right, step 3. Here we go. This is now preparing the arm for the peg placement. So these are my 2 drill bits. What I want to do is I wanted to measure up the drill bits to find out which is the right size. These are my 2 biggest drill bits. So I think I find the right size on the second drill bit. I think that's the widest, therefore it will give me the biggest of gap. So what we do is we prep the rotary tool. And they say in this bit, but don't forget I'm wearing my respirator for this and my eye protection because there's going to be molten plastic flinging everywhere. Make sure this drill bit is tight in the machine. If it's not, it will fling out. So I make a slight mistake here, something that I forgot to mention, which is that before using the drill bit, you'll see it start sliding around the top of the arm. It's not going down or into the arm. Very, very good reason. Before using a drill bit, I have found before, the best thing to do is kind of like make a hole in the place you want to drill so that the drill bit can just sit flushly in that hole and then it will just continue down. I forgot to make the hole or the groove before doing so. So that was kind of my fault there. I made that mistake. But now doing the voiceover, I can let you guys know that if you're going to do this yourself, make sure you make an indentation before using the drill bit. So I'm kind of holding it off camera, but I do raise it up a bit. As you'll see, I'm so sorry I did this off camera. Trying to keep an eye on the actual thing and then lifting it and trying to keep an eye on the screen is very difficult. But I think I do drill a bit more on screen, so I apologize for that. But yeah, as you can see, just removing the kind of melted plastic on the inside of the socket. Yeah, I am sorry that I didn't drill on camera. I'm just going to apologize for that as much as possible because, like I said, trying to see that and do it properly without ruining the arm, as well as see it on the screen, I can't do both. I was trying to hold it up to the camera as much as possible. So this is where we're just testing the peg, and this is where I realized that the hole isn't wide or deep enough yet for the peg to go in. So what you do is just start drilling some more. Yet again, I'm so sorry it's off camera. I'm pretty sure I do. I think I noticed it being off camera and I lift it, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this is just, again, me removing more molten plastic. Just making sure that the peg is a bit more deep enough. And I think what I'm still learning here is that it's now wide enough and a little bit deeper, but it's just not as flush for the peg. Wow, I really didn't drill this on camera at all, did I? I will do better. This is my first actual, video. Oh, I do! Yay! Look, you can see me do some drilling on camera. That's kind of the point. I think this was my last attempt, and I think that the peg now, as you should see soon, will kind of just pop into place perfectly. But you don't want it just to pop in, and that's kind of my point, is that you will need to add some glue. Okay, no, I was wrong. It's still, I think there's some plastic right at the bottom of the hole and it won't let the peg sit in, so it's pushing the peg back up. Like I said, I do apologize for this video. It's my first on-screen fix-em-upper custom to this extent. Usually it's just the simple popping torso pieces onto legs. So do forgive me. Hopefully over time these will get better. But you should see soon that the peg, yeah, just there. Peg's sitting perfectly still, exactly where it's supposed to be. And that's great because what we need to do is move on to step kind of 3.5, which is adding the glue. And yeah, the glue is kind of very important, because you don't want to overflow the socket, because if you overflow the socket and then push the peg in, that glue is just going to leak out over. It's going to get caught in the shoulder articulation. It's going to make a mess. You're going to have all this dry glue over the cantus's arm. You don't want that. You want to fill it up about halfway, because then when you put the peg in, it will rise, but to the top of the hole, and it will just keep that peg in a nice kind of flush, stiff position. Now, I only left this for about 10-15 minutes. My biggest recommendation, is to leave the peg sit for an hour. Let the glue dry for an hour so that the glue becomes this rock hard cement around the peg. That is the biggest recommendation. Now on to step 4, I think. If it's not 4, it's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 4. This is now heating up the socket, ready to put the arm back in. So yet again, all you got to do is let the figure sit for a couple of seconds. It doesn't have to be, I mean, maybe a minute, and most of you really need that joint to loosen up. But a couple of seconds really will do. And then should be reattaching this arm and checking out articulation. Now, just to warn you, because you're using a peg and it's not the proper peg that comes with the figure, there may always be some kind of articulation loss, because it's not the same peg, it's not the same height, and whatever else, and because it's not the way it's supposed to be, you may lose a little bit. But as you can see here, it can move up and down pretty good. It can move forward, it can go all the way around, it can move side to side. You've still got all that good articulation. Now the arm, it does pop off, but not from the peg to the arm, but the actual peg to the shoulder. It's just because the joint is still loose, so as you see, it just pops back out of that socket. But it does pop back in. My peg did get a little loose because I only left it for 10 minutes. But it's, as you can see, it still stays on, still articulates perfectly good. So, as I say, when you're doing this, make sure you leave the glue to set for an hour before doing this. Okay, just to give you that more reassurance that your peg is definitely sturdy enough for articulation. But yeah, this is another fixed Skorge. It's the second Skorge I've ever fixed. I did this with my first Skorge that I purchased that had a broken glued shoulder, and I was able to fix it. I was so stoked. First time I knew that I could actually fix one of these guys. I really hope this video helps you guys. And because I've had a lot of you on Facebook and Instagram say that you've got broken Skorges or cantuses. I really hope this helps. Just look for spare gears or warheads, find the right peg size, and do all these steps. And I can promise you now, you will get a articulated cantus and Skorge back. You will not have to fork out money for a new one.